this way, the area of this particular, that where the metallic pattern has been contained, the filling factor, it is getting enhanced, right? So that means the overall inductance capacitance is increased. Okay. So what will happen? The frequency will be reduced, right? On the other hand, once the filling fraction goes down, you are having the reverse effect or the inverse effect. Right? And if you are making it 7 point close to 7.5 gigahertz, if you compute on the 1 millimeter thickness of the dielectric, so you can get it at lambda by 4. So this is the basic idea. Now, based upon this particular idea, what you can do, sorry, you can design a dual band absorber. You can construct a dual band metasurface absorber where a supercell can be constructed by using two different scaling factors of 1.2 and 1.3 respectively. Okay. And what you are having, the subcells 1 are identical and have been placed diagonally, while the subcell 2 are also identical and have been placed diagonally, right? So what you can do from that concept, you can generate two distinct absorption peak, okay, at the two distinct frequencies, as you can see from here at 5.6 and 6.22 gigahertz, both at the C band. Okay, you can generate, right? And now here I am coming that one of the important aspects. Well, you have design, but you want to make a practical measurement. How you can do that? Well, the idea is you should construct or you should fabricate it as much large as possible. Why? Because you are placing the antenna from this particular surface to a far domain, right? Now, once the antenna, even if you are having a high directivity, always it will diverge, right? You cannot make an antenna that from the aperture that it will converge the beam. You will always have some kind of certain divergence, right? So you should make the particular dimension, it should be as much large as possible, right? Well, we have done 240 mm plus 240 mm. If you can go with 500 mm plus 500 mm, go for it. Or even if you go with 1 meter plus 1 meter, go for it. Always the bigger you will take, the better is the chance of getting the reduced effect of any kind of side edge the refraction of scattering, right? So what you are doing, you should take that two identical types of horn antennas. Okay? One is acting as a transmitting antenna, while the other one is a receiving antenna. And you are placing the structure, okay, in a far field. So what is happening from this transmitting antenna? One wave is incident on the surface and getting reflected back from the structure and received by the other antenna. Right? This is the simple mechanism. Okay? And this antenna has been connected to a vector network analyzer. So before you are taking all this measurement, what you have to do that you have to know that you have to calibrate it. So calibrate it means you have to make a certain reference, right? So you know that certain reference means what? You have to think of a particular structure that from where you should get the complete reflection. Okay. So excuse me, I am getting some kind of annotation request. So can you please tell me what I should do? I should decline it. Hello? Hello?
So we are getting your voice. We are getting
Yeah,
your voice.
Suddenly I got one request, that annotation request, that some Anil Kumar Soni is requesting to annotate the shared content. So what I should do, approve or decline?
This line's just first one, ask to annotate.
Yeah. Ask to annotate. So he's giving that one. So approve or decline? What should I do? Decline.
Decline.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So what you are having, that you should take a copper or a metal one. So once you are going with a bigger one, so what you can have, suppose you are having this structure, so you are mostly sure that whatever the wave is incident on that one, that will be completely, this particular structure will be completely illuminated, right? You should not have any kind of refraction or side edges. So it will obviously be reflected there, right? Now, if you are taking a smaller structure, right? So what I can show you, suppose you are taking a structure like this one, right? So you are having 1 meter per 1 meter. You are sure that everything is coming back from here. Now, if you are taking a structure with a smaller dimension like this, okay, and you are measuring the same one, that what is the reflection from this particular metal, okay? And as you know that since metal, it's an ideal reflector, so you can get some kind of, you can see over here the stable reflection coefficient from the particular surface. And you can be sure that you don't have that you don't have any kind of crosstalk between the two antennas, because once you are removing everything, you are getting that some kind of background noise or background reflection, which can be shown over here. Right? Now what you do, this smaller copper sheet means this is identical to the dimension of the absorber sample of 240 mm plus 240 mm. If I go back, you can see this the absorbing sample is 240 mm plus 240 mm, right? So what you are doing, you are measured from this one, okay? And what you do now, you present the absorbing sample from here. So you can see over here, the background is this one. This is the reflection from the copper. The blue one is the reflection from the absorbing sample. And the difference between these two will give you the actual reflection from the particular sample. Okay? So with this one, you can compute that the resulting reflection coefficient, or the in turn you can compute the resultant absorption. Okay. Obviously, by using the suitable gating structure, you can reduce the out of the band noise. Okay, by some other employing some other algorithm structures or other algorithms. Okay. So this is the basic idea. Now, what you can do, you can also make a dual band absorber. Now, here you are using two distinct absorber samples, two distinct emissions like this, combined in a third one. I'm sorry that this one was not really done. So combined in a third structure like this way, okay? So what you can have, this third structure, whenever you are orienting electric field along this direction, okay, you can get two separate absorption bands, okay? While when the electric field is oriented along this direction, you are getting a third absorption band separate from these two sequences, okay? So what is happening, that you can think like this way, that phi, which is nothing but suggesting the polarization angle of the electric field. So phi 0 degree will give you some kind of, or will offer you the deflection at, or the absorption at 5.26 and 9.54 gigahertz, while phi 90 degrees suggests you absorption at 7.4 gigahertz, right, which is at a third frequency. So once you will introspect that what is happening in between, you can see at 5.46 that all these unit cells are getting, all these gaps are getting activated, while at 9.54 the middle gap is getting much more activated. While you are having phi 90, so the metallic structures in the neighboring unit cells, okay, they are getting activated, right? So accordingly, you will get this particular one. Okay? And what you can do, that you can use this particular concept, that you can make two identical unit cells instead of, here also you are constructing a supercell, okay, consisting of two different subcells. Again 1 and 2 are identical. And what you are having in addition to that, the subcell number 2 is nothing but the rotated 90-degree rotated version of subcell number 1, right? And you can get realize a triple band absorption in this particular case, right? So you can see from here the triple band absorption has been realized by using this particular structure. Okay. Now, what you can do, that this particular structure, that once you are taking it, again, if you just fold it on any kind of direction, on which is known as it is having some kind of fold symmetry, right? Suppose if you are having a handkerchief, and if you fold that systematically or symmetrically, what you will have, if you open any of the quarters, what you will get, that here, if you just whatever you will get, there will be nothing but identical image, right? So here also the structure is having the four-fold symmetry, and that's why what you can see, that this structure will provide some kind of polarization insensitivity. So you can see again, like the same way you can get the particular the fabricated structure, the simulated and experimental results are in good agreement. Okay, so that's what I was just telling a few minutes ago, that here you can vary the polarization angle over here, and with respect to this change of the polarization angle, the response becomes invariant both in the simulated and the experimental one. How you can change this one? Suppose you are having a structure like this. Now, if you want to measure the structure by using this particular one, that what will be what will be the response under polarization angle variation, what you do, you rotate it like this around itself. Okay? Because if you see the structure, you are basically maintaining 90-degree orientation in all the cases. Okay, and as you are maintaining 90 degrees, so what you can do, that as you are going like this way, so what you can do, you can have the polarization angle change, you can realize in the experimental way. Right? So this is one idea, okay? And what you can do, you can use some kind of extraction of the electromagnetic parameters. There are some kind of some equations are well known or well available in the literature. You can use those. And what you can find out that the real and imaginary part of epsilon and mu effective, they are nearly equal. As I have told few slides ago, that how this particular one, that the for any kind of absorbing sample for the minimized reflection coefficient, you always should have epsilon effective equal to mu effective. That happens over here. Okay. And the next one of it, so what you can do later, that you can always fix some kind of inherent symmetry and some other kind of structures. I also want to tell you another kind of things that, well, that whatever I have discussed till now, that is structures in the gigahertz. Now, nowadays, that you can find a substantial research has been carried out in the terahertz domain also. Okay. Now, in the terahertz, what you are having, the gap between the it gets considered as the bridge between the electronics and the optical domain, and it is between 300 gigahertz to 30 terahertz. So, what you have to do that basically in this domain, even if you consider 1 terahertz, okay, that what you can do that the associated energy is 4.1 millielectron volt, okay, and what you can have, the ionization can be substantially reduced, okay, that is the one of the best application over here. So what you can do this one, but what is the problem is that this is one of the exciting domain, because you can take the simultaneous advantage from both the electronic as well as from the optical side, since it's a bridge between the two. But what is the problem? That since it is between, it is in a gap, so you have to make a proper customization of the device. You have to make that you have to make sure that whether you are going towards the microwave domain or whether you are going to the optical domain. So you have to make a proper customization of your source of the detector. So that is one of the fundamental problems by for working in this terahertz one. Okay, and not only in India, this is a global problem. People are working on it. And you can have certain applications, like you can see over here that a gun has been hidden over this particular bag, or this person is carrying a knife beneath this particular one. Okay, that this particular newspaper. So what you can have, that this can be easily detectable. So from hidden point of hidden objects can be easily detectable. So it can be easily used in some kind of defense application, or once I can say that a kind of the security application, because what, and even I am telling you from medical application also, because it cannot penetrate much more distance like X-rays. So what you can have, but X-ray will have some kind of certain ionization, right? But here the ionization energy is quite less, right? So the feasibility or the the probability is much reduced, right? Now what you can have, that you can say that if you can make or you can model some kind of absorbers in the terahertz domain also. But one of the very fundamental things I'm telling you, once you want to make a gold or metallic pattern on the particular surface of dielectric, you have to be very, very sure about the choice of the dielectric as well as of the choice of the metallic patterns, right? And secondly, the metal. Whenever you are modeling in the high frequency or in the optical or in the terahertz range, you can't take the metal directly, because at the high frequency, the properties are getting changed, or epsilon of the metal gets changed, and hence you have to incorporate root model at high frequencies or at the terahertz domain. And what you have to do that the particular dielectric substrate, it is also you have to choose with a better chemical stability or flexibility, whatever it is, depending upon your applications, right? But what you have to do that the dielectric property, it does not also remain constant, it gets variable, right? Again, you can make some other absorbers, broadband absorbers also in the terahertz domain. I'm not going to the much details over there. By making some kind of, some kind of geometrical optimization, you can make it. But here, I want to make some kind of, I want to express it in the light of the some kind of theory, one of our exciting work which was published earlier this year. Okay, so what we have done, that we are taking some kind of periodic metal lines again at the top. So here you can see the three-dimensional perspective view. and it has been designed in such a way so that it shows absorption at 10 micron. Okay, and here you can find out this the particular one by having the the interference theory. I am not going into much details over there, but what is the most exciting one with this one? That, well, if you change the thickness of the dielectric, that means this dielectric thickness, okay, whatever I'm talking of, by a value of n lambda by 2, where n is nothing but the any kind of integer, okay. So what you can see that initially the dielectric thickness was 0.28 micron, and lambda d is nothing but it is something close to 4.2 micron, okay. So if you just change it by lambda d by 2, that is 2.1 micron, with every 2.1 micron increase, if you just compute for our particular case, that because we had used some kind of ZNSE material, if you take the dielectric over there, and what you can find out that with every change of 2.1 microns, so the property of absorption gets repeated, right? And once the property of absorption gets repeated, okay, so basically what you can think of that you are changing the dielectric thickness, suddenly you are getting back to the original one. You are changing the thickness, what will happen? The absorption is getting shifted, and again it is coming back to the original one. So basically you are incorporating some kind of Fabry-Pérot resonance, right? And what you can have, if you want to plot the electric field, okay, what you can see, the electric field is getting changed like this way. And I'm telling you that once we are making the modeling, okay, I am just going back once again to this one. So this surface that at the bottom of the metal reflector, we are considering Z equal to 0. And what will happen that once you will see this one, so this one where you are having suppose TD1, that for Ex equal to 0, for certain value of TD1, that certain value is nothing but the metal thickness or the gold thickness which is there at the bottom, right? And after a dielectric value, you are having that at the other end, which is nothing but the Z equal to TD1, okay? So what you are having, this TD1 is nothing but 0.28 micron. So what you are getting some kind of positive value of or some kind of non-zero value of Ex. So what does it mean? This means that the electric field is not getting zero because you are having a quasi-open boundary over there, right? It is not closed. Okay? You are having a quasi-open interface at the top surface. But on the bottom surface, you are having a complete metallic layer. That's why the electric field is zero, right? Now what you are having, that once you are changing it by lambda d by 2, okay, that is by the half wavelength thickness, okay. What you can see, the Ex value is getting changed with a half sinusoid, okay. And once you are making lambda 2, lambda d, you are having a full sinusoidal variation of this particular one. So once you can see over here at the two sides, so if you see that here, the two values that these two Ex are carrying the same sign, here the two Ex values, they are carrying the opposite signs, and again here the two Ex values are carrying the same signs. Okay. So what you can have, that you can find if you want to compute the surface currents that at the metasurface, that means at the top surface and at the reflector end, you can write in this particular form for a for a harmonic wave, or if the wave is time harmonic in nature. So what you can find out that epsilon reflector, it is always negative. Epsilon reflector is nothing but the metal thing, right? And what you are having, that epsilon metasurface, that is the periodic one, it will obviously change, okay, based upon the relation. So what you can do, you can see the variation something like this. And what you can find out for all these values, okay, that you can see that at 10 micron, okay, or 10 micron wavelength, you are having the real epsilon effective or epsilon metasurface that is positive for all the three cases. Now you see like this way, that you are having all those one positive. Now epsilon metasurface and epsilon reflector, you consider about these two. Now epsilon reflector is always negative, right? Now what you are having, that the electric field, okay, they are parallel to each other, as I have mentioned in the previous slide, for first case as well as for the third case, right? Since they are parallel to each other, so what you can consider, that Jx metasurface and Js reflector, they will have the opposite sign. If this is plus, the other one will be minus. So you are having antiparallel surface. Otherwise, on the contrary, what you can have, that in this case, when in the middle case or the second case, what you are having, that Ex, they are of the opposite signs. Since Ex are of the opposite signs, so if this is positive, the other one is negative. Now epsilon reflected is also negative, so negative into negative, this becomes positive, and epsilon meta surface is positive. So this is plus, plus into plus will be plus, and minus into minus will be plus, right? So you will have that Jx meta surface and Jx reflected, it will be of the identical sign. So this will be parallel in nature. So here comes one of the fallacy that again we can show that these surface currents, it may be parallel, that way to even to achieve absorption, but you are invoking some kind of high order cavity, right? The another one, that what we are doing addition to this one, that we can also do some kind of time domain analysis. So what you are doing, you are having this particular structure, okay, and here you are having some kind of port one where you are measuring. So some wave is coming, it is reflected back from here, it is reached at some time t1. Again, it is going like this, and then some portion is coming back, it is reached at time t2, and so on, right? So what is happening, that you can compute T1, T2, T3, okay, by invoking or by using some kind of well-known relationships, and you can find out at what time instant you are supposed to get those kind of peaks, okay. If you make the time domain analysis of S11, you can see for 4.48 micron, okay, thickness, you can get that this should be at 0.08, and we are getting at 0.08. This should be at 0.138. We are getting at 0.15. Okay. The other one is supposed to get at 0.196. We are getting at 0.215. So they are quite close with each other, right? And what you can do, you can extend it for the other ones. Okay, that once you are going for this particular cases, okay, what you can do on these cases, that for the higher order cavities, always suppose if the thickness gets increased, so what will happen? The P1 will remain constant, or the first time instant will remain constant, while the second and third time instance, that will get changed. Okay? Yeah, hello? Any problem? Hello, any problem?
No, sir. No,
okay.
sir. No, sir.
Okay. So this, what will happen? So since they are getting changed out, what will happen? It's a very easy thing. If the thickness will get changed, and if you are measuring at this point, so the time instant will definitely, it will get, you will get at a later instant of time, and hence the first peak has been received at the same time for all the cases, while the duration of the second peak that is getting changed as we reading from this one. Okay. So what you can do further, so this is one of the approach while doing the time domain analysis for the metasurface design. Okay. And you can also have some kind of metasurface polarizer application. Now here what is happening, suppose this is the direction of the electric field and this is the direction of the wave propagation. You are having a structure like this. After moving to this one, the field of the polarization angle, that is getting changed by an angle of 90 degrees, right? That means the wave is propagated along this direction, but the direction of electric field is getting rotated by 90 degrees, right? So this kind of structure has been first proposed in terahertz domain in 2013. Now we had also proposed some kind of reflective type of polarizer. What we are having in this case, we are having the structure again backed by metal, okay, and when the wave is incident and it is getting reflected back, so whenever you are having the electric field along this direction, you are not receiving any power. However, you are rotating it by 90 degrees, the electric field, then what you are getting some kind of substantial amount of power. Okay, so this is the concept of the reflective type polarizer. So here you can see over a broader frequency band, you can have the minimization of co-polarized reflection as well as the maximization of the cross-polarized reflection. Both of them have been occurring simultaneously, so that you can get a polarization conversion over a broader frequency range. And as I have told you, that here what you are doing to measure the co-polarized reflection, both of them are at the same orientation, while in the other case you will have, they should be in the orthogonal orientation with respect to each other. And here I'm showing some kind of work which has been carried out by one of our master students, okay, that to design a multi-band polarizer. Okay, so I'm not going to much details over here, but here that interestingly what happens, that some of the, so you can see over here that at certain frequencies you are having the minimization of polarized reflection and maximization of cross-polarized reflection. We are you are getting simultaneously, so that you are having polarization conversion at multiple bands. And what you are having at two distinct frequencies, 6.63 and 7.173 gigahertz, you are having the polarized and cross-polarized reflection coefficients. They are identical in nature, or their magnitudes are equal in nature. while they have been changed or they have been, their phase difference between them is 90° or 5/2. So this provides you the condition for the circular polarization or generation of CP. Okay, so you can get, one can achieve the RHCP and LHCP at the two different distinct frequencies. And here we have shown some kind of transmitted polarizer, okay, as I have told you a few minutes ago. So what is happening that here you are having three distinct layers. So this is the top layer, okay, you are having some metallic pattern oriented horizontally. You are having on the back side the metal layers oriented vertically. In between you are having some kind of fractal shape slots, okay, and this is always, it is asymmetric in nature. And electric field is oriented along this direction. So by choosing the proper fractal order, what you can do, you can enhance or you can get some enhanced bandwidth of polarization conversion. So this is one of our works which has been presented and published in last year. Okay, and here whatever I was saying just now, you can see over here that this is the direction of the electric field initially, and once it is getting passed over here, so you can get the orientation of the electric field by an amount of 90°. Okay, you can see that here the rotation of the electric field by 90°. And the angle between the co and cross polarized component, it is becoming stable at 90° over a band. And if you measure the DTDF, the derivative, if you want to measure the transmission coefficient change with respect to frequency, that also gets constant over a certain near this particular bandwidth. So you can also say the structure is basically non-dispersive in nature. Okay, so what that means, the transmission coefficient, it is nearly invariant, okay, with respect to the change of the frequency. Okay, so the slope is zero. So that is the fundamental concept. Also, another interesting concept is, as you already know, the booster angle. That means that where you are having the complete transmission, okay, and you are having the zero reflection of the electric field, right? So what you can do, that you can compute the particular one, that what is the value of phi b or the particular booster angle for this case, which has been computed at 67°. So what you do, that you have to take that instead of the periodic structure, you have to take a simple dielectric, and here the wave, instead of the normal incidence, you have to orient it by making an angle of phi b, polarization angle of phi b, so that it will be incident normal to the structure. And what you can get a semi-identical kind of response, where you are getting the maximization of the transmission coefficient by an angle of 90°. It is like the same way that you can see that simultaneously the co-polarized reflection becomes minimum while the cross-polarized one becomes maximum over the certain domain. Okay, so it's the proof of our concept. Okay, that you can make over here. Okay. And now I also want to make you that one of the metasurface-based antenna applications. Okay, so what you can do, that here you can see that a patch of the fractal patch, slotted patch over here, while the bottom surface you are having that you are having certain number of periodic patterns over here, and this periodic pattern offers some kind of transmission minima. Okay, if you have this the simulation separately. Okay, and what you can get, that you are basically making some kind of dual band applications for this antenna, and you are getting some enhanced bandwidth. So what you can do, this is the antenna which has been fabricated and measured in anechoic chamber in IIT BHU, and also the patterns have been measured. Okay, so what you are doing, that we can show over here the simulated and experimental results. They are in nearly matching. You can see from this results, and the cross-polarized one is much below compared to the co-polarized one, and the first bandwidth is quite high compared to the second one is comparatively narrow. Okay. And what is happening, that here, that you can also get a substantial high amount of gain even at high frequency. Even we have achieved a high gain as high as close to 7 dBm. Okay. So this we have reported last year. Also, we have this work has been just got published this year, just earlier this year. So what we have done, that we had made some kind of designed an antenna, and what you have done, that we are using some kind of superstrate configuration, that some kind of there's some kind of periodic pattern. Okay. So what is just been done, the idea is to enhance the gain of the particular antenna, or so that you can use it for some kind of lensing application. Okay. So what we have done over here, you can see that this is the top view and this is the bottom view. Okay. So in the top view, you are having again some kind of fractal slots, okay, and some kind of plotted patch over here, and on the some rectangular slots have been introduced in the defected ground plane so that the bandwidth can be enhanced. And to enhance the coupling, we are using some kind of more metallic patches on the top of the unit cell. And then the addition of this particular superstate layer, what it will do, it will basically enhance the particular radiation within the particular dielectric or within from this particular antenna. So this is again, you can see that how we have done this one. So this one has been separated by a layer of Teflon. Okay, and initially the antennas and the metasurface have been fabricated over the purpose. Now you can ask me that, well, with and without Teflon, if we go for a simple air dielectric or air spacer, what we can have a narrowband application, but with the introduction of the Teflon layer, one can get some enhanced bandwidth. Okay, and what you can see that again, whenever this layer has been simulated, okay, by using a periodic boundary, you can get the real, it is basically acting as a double negative medium above a particular frequency band. Okay, and this one, that what you can do, that this particular application basically provides you that the bandwidth enhancement, or I should say, gain application over here. So what you can see that here the gain, if you just see at the three frequencies, in all these cases it is more than 7 dBi. It is close to 8 dBi at a certain frequency. Okay, and what you can do that we can get a very good return loss from near to 24 dB. Okay, and maximum realized gain has been 8.17 dBi. It can be achieved, right, at the same frequency. And what we can also show that whenever you are going with the experimental one at all these frequencies between 10.1 to 10.9, if you just see over here, in all these cases, the gain always lying between 7 to 8 dBi. So the gain is always very high. Okay, so that we have realized over here. And again, the cross-polarized pattern is much reduced compared to the polarized one, as we can see from this particular structure. We have measured it again in the anechoic chamber in IIT BHU. Okay. Later, I also want to tell you that this particular work has been carried out by one of our students that basically he had come to me for doing his BTech internship. He worked here for 1.5 months and come out with a journal. Okay, so basically he has loaded the particular antenna structure by using a few split ring resonator structure, meander line configuration. Okay, you can see this one, so that it will operate at 6 different frequencies. So this antenna has been proposed for terahertz range. Okay, and unfortunately we can't do the carry out the measurement of this one. So over a silicon dioxide dielectric, this one has been designed by using gold layer. And here you can see that with different steps that how the particular configuration has been enhanced. Okay, and here you can see that the particular gain pattern over here, that where in all the cases the gain is more than 5 dBi. You can see from this particular one, and over it is operated at 6 different frequencies bands, and in fact it has been realized the return loss matching or return loss of 37 dB. Okay, so this has been done. But what is happening? The efficiency of this particular antenna is quite less, because in any terahertz antenna for photoconductive antenna, the problem is the impedance matching is very poor because of the mismatch of the feeding system and the radiating elements. So still we are basically we are working on it. Okay? And this antenna provides some kind of infrared radiation in E plane, and in H plane one can receive and get the omnidirectional pattern. And now I am coming to one of the very interesting developments recently, that where the metasurface have been loaded with graphene. So what is happening? The graphene is nothing but a two-dimensional structure. Okay, and you are having a carbon atoms or carbon layer, which has been monolayer of carbon, which has been placed in a two-dimensional pattern. What you can do, you can change the conductivity of this particular graphene layer by employing some kind of external strain or external applied bias voltage in a number of ways. Okay? So what you can do that one can design some kind of the metasurface antenna. So here we are showing the cross polarization converter by using the graphene layer. So this phi shape is nothing but a graphene. Okay, you are having a silicon dioxide layer, and then you are having some kind of gold layer in between. Okay, so you are not using any kind of metal at the top. You are only using, you are having a silicon dioxide layer. After that, you are having a graphene pattern. Okay, at the 2D plane. Okay, and this structure offers what you can see. You can see again over here that in the terahertz region, it will offer a cross polarization minima over a particular frequency where the cross polarized is again maximum, so that the polarization conversion is quite high. And what you can see over here, this tau that basically denotes the quality of the film of the graphene. Okay, as the value of tau decreases, okay, that you are basically going toward, if you are moving towards the higher value, or you can say that higher film quality. Okay, or the quality is getting enhanced. Tau is nothing but the relaxation time between the electrons, and mu is nothing but the chemical potential, which again it can be changed due to the application of applied strain or applied voltage. So with that, you can see the polarization PCR response, it can be tuned accordingly, right? And again, you can have the other way around also. If you are having a metal plane on this top, so what you are getting that from the graphene layer at the top, you are just cutting out this kind of slots, okay? And again, you are invoking some kind of you are invoking some kind of polarization conversion structure. So what you can see over here, that you are getting near unity response. You can see in this particular plot that you are getting a near unity response in this band. Okay, and how efficient it is, you can see that both are structure. If you see the fractional bandwidth compared to the reported one, it is quite high. And what we are further working with to reduce the thickness of this structure, because what we believe that we are still having, we can't go to the ultra thin nature. Okay, although it's a meta surface, but still we are working with the achievement of the, you know, that for the ultra thin nature. Okay? On the other hand, we have also worked with the meta surface as an absorbing structure for this graphene layer. Okay, so what you are having again, this kind of graphene structure. Okay, that you are deposited over the silicon dioxide dielectric over here. Okay, and what you are getting, you can see the absorption is very high over a band of 6.08 terahertz. Okay, so the fractional bandwidth is nearly 90%. Okay, so that we had reported last year. So this year it has been published in IEEE Transaction on Electromagnetic Compatibility. And what we have shown, the structure is polarization insensitive in nature due to its core symmetry, and it is stable also angularly. And what we have also shown that again with the change of the film quality of graphene, as well as with the change of the particular applied potential, the absorption response it gets changed. Okay, so this is one of the salient feature of our structure that we have done. And what we can find out that again you can see that in this case we are achieving simultaneously ultra thin as well as this one we are having a sub-wavelength region. Okay, but we are going for much better periodicity. We are trying to make the periodicity is better. We have already achieved, but we are going for further thickness reduction, the electrical thickness reduction, and you can see that compared to this one, we are getting up 90% absorption bandwidth. That is one of the significant achievement of our work that we have done this year. Okay, we had done last year, I should say. So this is the work. This is what we have done. So these are some of the applications I am showing, and you can think for the other applications too. Okay. Now, before I finish off, I really want to thank the summer interns who had worked with me for over the last 2 years. Who had come over here to do some kind of this particular works. Okay. Last year, in 2018, 6 students had come, and these 2 students have come out with the journal paper on the terahertz antenna, what I have just shown you. And these students, they had come last year and done some kind of significant work, so that, and this was some of their work I have shown you. In fact, I also want to acknowledge my master's and PhD students. Some of them are graduated. Some of these 2 students are working with me. Okay, and I think they have registered in this particular workshop, and that they are working very hard. Okay, and these are some of the PhD students who are working with me. This 3 and this one, this 4 months. Okay, working with me, and also I am very much thankful to my institute, IIT BHU, for providing me the research opportunity and so that I can talk with you. Okay, and I am very much thankful to Science and Engineering Research Board, Government of India, to provide me some funding so that we are giving, or we are doing some kind of, trying to do some kind of research. And before I want to finish off, I want to also acknowledge my collaborators with whom I am working, or with whom they are also working. Professor Chakraborty, the current director of IIST Shibpur, Professor P.K. Jain, the current director of NIT Patna, Professor Laktakia, one of the senior professors in Penn State University, Dr. Shantanu Das, one of my colleagues in ceramic engineering department. Dr. Chinmoy Saha, I think he does not need any introduction. All of you have listened to him already in the very first day. Dr. Chitrajit Sharkar, another one of my seniors, he's one of the potential researcher in this domain, working in one of the colleges in West Bengal. Okay, and Dr. Smriti Dwivedi, my own departmental colleague, and he's also working with me in this regard. Okay, so, and again, before I finish off, I want to show the aerial view of the beautiful temple of our campus. Okay, as I have just told you at the beginning of the talk, that we are having a beautiful temple. It's the same temple, the aerial view. Okay, and you are most welcome to visit it, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some questions on the chat box.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm taking the questions. The
Yeah.
first question is, instead of metal backing, if we just a metal strip, will it decrease the absorption?
Well, the question is, I am getting some echo of my own voice. Is it clear now? Is it clear? Hello? Hello, can you listen to me? Hello?
Yes. I think it is clear now.
Yeah. So what is happening that you should, well, even if I am talking of metal strip or metal backing, what you have to do, that metal thickness, even if you are going with ideal one, you may have, but experimentally what you have to do, that you should make the thickness larger than the skin depth of the particular electromagnetic wave, right? You know the skin depth means the wave will propagate to that distance, or it will attenuate till that distance. So what you should do, you should take some 10 times of skin depth. I think that your simulation of your working will be fine. Because although we take any kind of two-dimension device, always you will have a third dimension. It may be electrically very thin. You can consider like that. Yes. The next one.
Next question is, can we use DGS or any structure at ground side of metamaterial?
You can, look, for example, if you see the antenna applications, let me show it once again. Yeah, this structure, even if you consider this structure, okay, this is a DGS structure. You are having the defended ground structure. On this defected ground, look, this is the bottom view. Instead of the complete metal, you are having defected ground over which these metallic patches have been printed. Okay. On the other hand, if you go to the next one, so here also you are having the DGS. Okay. Obviously, you can go with DGS structure to enhance the bandwidth. So meta surface structure means what you should have some kind of array pattern, right? You may have maybe a fun type, it may be a 4x4 array, it may be a 5x5 array, it will depend on what particular area you want to fabricate your pattern.
Slide number 12. Slide number 12. Yeah.
Okay.
The unit cell consists of how many resonators?
Well, here the unit cell consists of 4 resonators, okay? But if you consider this one, okay, so what you are having, that I think maybe is talking of slide number 30 instead of 12. So basically, you can consider this is 48 plus 48 unit cells, so that you are having a total dimension of 240 mm, 240 mm. Yeah. Hello, can you listen?
Next question. Yeah. Next question is, how one can decide the number of unit cell in periodic structure?
Well, if you are considering about, in this question, I am taking in this way, that if you are having the consideration of the absorber or the polarization conversion kind of structures, you should take it as large as possible. I already had mentioned at that time, we had taken 240 mm plus 240 mm. But if it is possible for you to go for 500 mm plus 500 mm, go for it. I am telling you, the basic principle is something like this. Suppose the antenna aperture, okay, it is of the order of lambda, already you know, right? So lambda cross lambda, you are having the antenna aperture dimension, and the wave is coming out and it is going out, diverging slowly, right? And you are having a particular surface which is getting illuminated due to this excitation from this antenna aperture, right? For proper illumination, well, if you ask me, sir, if I go with 100 lambda cross 100 lambda, if it is possible, go for it. But from practical point of view, you are having certain limitations. If you are going with some kind of 10 lambda cross 10 lambda or 5 lambda cross 5, at least some 5 lambda cross 5 lambda or 6 lambda cross 6 lambda, it will be better. But again, I'm telling, as much large as you can take, it will be better, because you are ignoring, or you can minimize the effect of side diffraction or side edge diffraction.
Next question is, for the triple band polarized absorber, how you took the unit cell?
Oh, sorry.
For the triple band absorber, how you took the unit cell?
Well, I told it, I think maybe, yes. Well, can you see my slide? Hello, can you see my slide? Hello?
Yeah, yes, sure.
Yeah. So what you can see, at first we had constructed a dual band absorber. And this absorber, what you are having, when the electric field is aligned along this direction, it exhibits dual band absorption. However, while the electric field is aligned along this direction, that is bidirection, it is providing absorption at the other frequency. So what you are doing now, that well, at the simultaneously, if I can orient like this way and this way, I can make it a triple band absorber. That's exactly we have done. We have designed a triple band absorber.
Okay. So next question is, how the thickness of metal in patch and ground affects the absorption?
Okay. In fact, I think I already had answered it in the very first one. Basically, what you have to do, that the metal thickness, it should be as low as possible, but it should be greater than the steel length. Again, I'm telling that if the steel length is delta, you take it 10 delta or 5 delta in your design, I think it will be fine.
Yeah. Next question is, how to extract the material parameters when S21 is 0?
Yeah, I think yes. Yeah, over here. What you can do, you can compute the surface permittivity, surface susceptibility, and magnetic susceptibility, from which you can epsilon effective and mu effective. I will just suggest you to go through this particular paper for the derivation of this particular expression.
Next question is, in refractive cross polarization structure, how cross polarization rotation happens?
Well, a very good question. Well, the very first thing I should tell you, that how to distinguish this structure from it, because what is happening, co-polarized reflection is minimized, right? What is happening, the very good thing is that you may think of that it may be working as an absorber. But how you can do that, you can see that there is some kind of anisotropy involved in the design. Okay. So whenever there is some kind of anisotropic design, okay, you can consider that there is a feasibility that the structure is behaving as a polarization point.
Yeah. Next question is, does including rotated version of a resonating structure in an unit cell gives multiband absorption?
Okay, can you please repeat the question?
Does including rotated version of a resonating structure in an unit cell gives multiband absorption?
It may provide, depending upon the nature of the unit cell. You have to study the electric field very well, and before rotating the unit cell, you have to see that what is the behavior of the unit cell from phi equal to 0 to phi equal to 90 degree. If it provides the at phi equal to 90 degree, if it provides the absorption at some other frequency, then you should go for the rotation. So depending upon your design and depending upon your need, okay, you should go for it.
Okay, sir. Next question is, why and when I need cross polarization and copolarization measurement?
Well, this is done whenever you want to prove your structure is polarization converter. Okay, and what you have to do, look, if you see this one, that in case of absorber, if you just consider you are having the polarized reflection minimum, but what you are having in case of absorber, simultaneously you are having the cross-polarized reflection that should also be minimized. But here, what you are having the cross-polarized reflection that is maximized, right? So you can think like this way. If you can see my hand, this is the direction of my electric field, and this is the direction of my wave propagation. It is getting incident on the structure, getting reflected back. Initially, electric field along this direction, I am keeping my on antenna in this one. I am not getting anything. But if I rotate this electric field by 90 degrees, okay, then at that time I am receiving certain amount of reflection. So what I am getting, the electric field is getting rotated by an amount of 90 degrees. Okay, so that's what I were getting some cost.
Yeah. So next question is, we can call microstrip antenna with metamaterial layer on its top as a multi-layer microstrip antenna?
It depends. No, it cannot be multi-layer antenna because multi-layer antenna means you are having basically two different type of substrates. Okay, what you are having, you are having the patch antenna over here. What you are doing, you are incorporating it as a superstate configuration. Superstate means you are having the radiating patch over here. You are not having any kind of radiating patch at the top, right? You are having some kind of superstate configuration, some other layer of metasurface design, okay, which basically enhances the directivity, which can be thought of or used for fencing application.
Okay, so next question is, will the anechoic chamber degrades the performance of absorber under test?
No, no. Basically, what happens, the anechoic chamber application or anechoic chamber, that introduction or the incorporation is so that you can't have any kind of, unwanted reflection. Okay, so that to reduce the unwanted reflection from surroundings, you have to go for the anechoic chamber.
Okay, so next question is, how much gain enhancement can be achieved with an efficient lensing approach when used with antenna? Which value is considered as a very good value of gain enhancement?
Yeah, at least what we have gone for some 7 to 8 dBi, but if we are targeting some for some 10 to 15 dBi. As much high as it possible, it will be much better, because you have to go at least for the standard. The standard will be a standard horn antenna. Okay, you can go for that particular range.
Next question, kindly explain how did you fabricated unit cell on graphene sheet and metallic unit cell on graphene sheet?
Well, we have not fabricated, first of all. That this is a simulated result, okay, but what you have to do, you have to do certain modeling on your software, okay, on your electromagnetic solver, and then you have to do that. The graphene fabrication, it is under test, okay, or it is under the particular consideration. What you have to do, you have to choose your dielectric very properly, after which this can be fabricated. And if you ask me the fabrication procedure, then I think that I am not the perfect person to reply this
one. Next question is, so what is the best approach to make an absorber angle insensitive?
Well, the best approach is that not only for an absorber, even if you consider a polarization converter or a filter, anything, you have to make the unit cell dimension should be as small as possible. The unit cell, I should say, the periodicity should be as small as possible.
The next question is, please suggest how to increase the bandwidth while making a meander line antenna.
Okay. So what you can do, well, with the meander line antenna, first of all, that not we have increased any kind of bandwidth, rather if you can see this one, that we had made some kind of the antenna is operating at multi-band frequencies. If you can see, it has been clearly written that antenna is operating over 6 distinct frequencies. Okay, so meander line approach is one of the approach, and so all this one, that meander line, then SRR, everything. If you just, I will ask the particular the questionnaire that was asked me. So please go through this particular paper. Okay, so it has been explained in details that from case 1 to case 8, that how this can be, one can proceed for it.
Okay, next question is cross polarization increases with increase in frequency. What are the potential reasons?
Sorry, please explain. Please
Cross
repeat.
polarization increases with increase in frequency. What are the potential reasons?
It is not that kind of thing. Cross polarization, well, it is depending upon your structure, that in which frequency or which frequency domain you want to design your cross polarization converter. Over that one, you have to, maybe we have, for example, we had designed in gigahertz range, we had designed in terahertz range, everything. Okay, so so it can be according to that one, you have to come up.
Question is best books for getting thorough knowledge on metamaterials.
I should say the first 2 chapters of Kalos. Okay, there is a very well-known book of Kalos, which was published in 2006, and one literature is there by H.T. Chen in which H.T. Chen and Andre Alu. It was published in Reports in Physics, okay, IOP journal. It was published in 2016. That is a very good one, and one can also go with another article by Professor S.A. Ramakrishna, who has recently become the director of CSIO Chandigarh. Okay, so there is one very book, very well-known book, as well as there one paper of him is also available, which was published, I think, in 2008 or 2009. Okay, that was also in IOP Physics, okay, Institute of Physics, that one. So that was also an invited paper. So this, I think that if someone can go with this documents, that many things will be clear.
Question is, so what is the thickness used for the graphene?
Graphene thickness, it's a monolayer carbon atom. Okay, so it is 1 nanometer thickness or even lesser than that one.
Okay, sir. Next question is the circuit equivalent of metasurface are different from lower or at higher frequencies?
Well, the surface equivalent, depending upon the frequency band. Well, if you are going out of the band response, then it may be different. But within the band, because it is nothing but a resonating structure, right? So you don't have much change over there.
Question is, what is the exact mean by cross polarizer converter?
Well, I have told it already. That you are having this kind of this is the kind of wave you are having. Okay, that along the origin direction of the electric field, whenever you are receiving, okay, you are not getting any kind of power. However, if the direction of the propagation remains constant while the direction of the electric field is rotated by 90 degrees, that is known as cross polarization conversion.
What is the difference between metasurface and FSS?
I think I already had told on the very first slide that whenever you are, FSS is nothing but in a general sense, okay, that you are having a surface, you don't incorporate or don't involve or don't invoke any kind of conditions. It is simply a periodic layer of metal, a periodic arrangement of metals in a 2D plane. But here in metasurface, what you are doing, you are restricting it in the dimension or the periodicity. It should be less than lambda by 4. Okay, that is one of the most important applications.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
A nice, vibrant lecture, and I think all the queries have been solved. And as you are the just last presenter of this workshop, so I need you to be present during the validatory session, which is of only 10 minutes.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, now we are having our Professor M.M. Sharma, sir, Professor Dr. Jainiani, sir. We are having our chief guest today's Professor S. Raghavan, sir. we are having a vice chair, Dr. Somawa Mukherjee. Principal sir को phone कर देना. We are having as well as we are having some of our speakers like Raghavan sir is there. Like last workshop speaker, Mr. Rajesh Kumar Singh, he is also there. I think Sungtae Kang is also there. And just within a few minutes, our principal, Dr. J.K. Digwal, is also joining just within a minute. Yeah, now Professor Raghavan has also joined. Okay, now I am just briefing about the brief biodata of Professor Raghavan. Professor S. Raghavan is a professor in Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, National Institute of Technology, Trichy. He has about 40 years of teaching and research experience. His interests include microwave integrated circuits, RF MEMS, biomems, metamaterial, and microwave engineering. He is a proud research scholar of Professor Bharti Bhatt and Professor S.K. Kaul, KR IIT Delhi. He has established state-of-the-art microwave integrated circuits and microwave laboratory in NIT Trichy with the help of Government of India funding. He has won the Best Teacher Award twice and conferred with the Honorary Fellowship of Ancient Sciences and Archaeological Society of India. His first research scholar obtained the gold medal for the best thesis of the year. He has short time visiting fellow in California State University, awarded to conduct tutorial in APEMC 2010, organizing chair of Indian Antenna Week 2014, invited to be a session chair in Peers 2013 in Taiwan. He has 130 research papers in international journals, 99 in IEEE Explorer, 140 international conferences, 28 national conferences, and also filed 3 patents, as well as he is a member of IEEE, BES, IE, CSI, and many other societies. He has organized various workshops as well as lectures, conferences, and he is an executive member of TSI and also the Tamil Nadu chapter of TSI, also the founding faculty advisor of IEEE, MTT, and APS student branch chapters of NIT Trichy. Professor S. Raghavan is the author of Microwave Integrated Circuits Component Design through MATLAB CRC Press. He was the president of RE Faculty Association for 2 years. He had made an impact in the microengineering education among the student community at large. One thing I am also going to tell you about, he is also one of the participants of this workshop. Now I just invite our principal sir, he is also there. Now I invite Professor M.M. Sharma sir to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev. Am I audible? Sanjeev, am I audible? My voice is audible, Sanjeev? Dr. Digwal.
Yes, I think you are
Yes,
audible.
sir. Audible, sir.
Audible. Very good afternoon to everyone present in this beautiful webinar. I welcome in this valedictory section Professor Somak from IIT BHU and chief guest of the today's valedictory function, Professor Raghavan from the NIT Trichy. Then Professor Janiani, who is head of the department of Malviya National Institute of Technology and the past chair of IEEE Rajasthan subsection. Then Professor Somawa Mukherjee, who is the vice chair of IEEE APS chapter Jaipur. Then Professor Sanjeev Yadav, who has organized all the sessions, almost 13 sessions, very beautifully. Professor Dingwal, Jitendra Dingwal, who is a principal, very dynamic principal, young principal at Government Women Engineering College. It's a Mahila Engineering College they call, but I call it a Women Engineering College. One is the first women's engineering college in the North India. And I welcome all the participants, all the distinguished speakers, especially the participants without which this webinar would have been not successful. I heard the Professor Somak, he has delivered a very beautiful lecture, a different one. He talked about different aspects of this research and other things. I thanks on behalf of IEEE APS chapter Jaipur, and I wish that similar webinars may be organized, maybe different topics, but the different vibrant speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Now I request our principal, sir, Dr. J.K. Digwal, sir, to say a few words.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Whatever you have told about me, I am the only students of you.
No, no, you're a young dynamic fellow.
First of all, I thanks Dr. Somak Bhattacharya ji who have delivered the talk, the event last talk in this 5-day workshop. And this was our second workshop in COVID-19 situation, which has been organized by Dr. Sanjeev Yadav. And then I thankful to the IEEE Antenna Propagation Society APS chapter Jaipur, IEEE Rajasthan subsection, and the faculty members, professors from the MNIT Jaipur who has given their support in this organizing this event, 5-day event. I also thankful the coordinators of the event, Professor M.M. Sharma ji, Vijay Janiani sir, Rohit Bakar sir, and the Sanjeev. And I also thankful to the participants who have keen to learn about this metamaterial workshop, and yes, more than 350 participants were there in this during this continuous program of the 5-day. They have joined even from the NITs, IITs, the renowned professors also joined. So we are very happy and that our workshop is very famous among the top workshop organized during this COVID-19 situation. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much, all the participants. And congratulations to organizers. They have successfully organized this workshop.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor Janiani, sir, to say a few words in the valedictory.
Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Sanjeev, for giving me the opportunity. And I am very happy to see this very successful webinar coming to an end. And I congratulate all the organizing members, particularly Sanjeev Yadav, who has done a great job in organizing this. And of course, Dr. J.K. Digwal, who is the principal of Mahila Engineering College, and our most respected M.M. Sharma sir, without whose guidance this I think it would have been difficult to organize such an event on such a large scale. And I'm very thankful to all the speakers and Professor Somnath for today. And also we are very delighted to see Professor Raghavan in this gathering. I mean, Professor Raghavan doesn't need any introduction in this, particularly in this field of microwave, and otherwise also is a very renowned personality in this field. And it's a big learning experience to see that, as Sanjeev told, that Professor Raghavan is one of the participants. So it's a great motivation for all young learners that when Professor Raghavan can join as a learner, of course, he doesn't need any learning now. He can only impart teaching and knowledge. But it's a good learning for all of us and for all young participants. And I'm really thankful and really happy to see that the way the organizers are making a good use of this COVID situation. I think they are making a blessing in disguise sort of thing, that they have requested and organized so many wonderful speakers in this webinar, which otherwise I think it's very difficult physically to organize on such a scale. So I once again congratulate everyone who have organized this beautiful webinar under these situations of COVID. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Over to Sanjeev.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Somawa Mukherjee, who is the Vice Chair of IEEE Rajasthan subsection, as well as he is also the Joint Secretary of APS Chapter Jaipur. Sir, you are invited to say a few words.
Yeah, so I first congratulate Dr. Sandeep Yadav for organizing such a beautiful event. And also, this is a very good gathering of all the scientists who are working in India. So that is also a very good platform I am seeing. It's very good. I am in the part of the IEEE Rajasthan subsection and also the part of the APS Jaipur chapter from the very initiation of this chapter. And we have, I think this is in the second or third year. We are in the third year and we are actually accelerating our events. The number of events are increasing, so that is very good sign. And hopefully now we will start more collaboration of events between different chapters inside the Jaipur section, and then we have so much more colorful and enjoyable events, I hope. So with that note, I'll like to conclude that also my sincere thanks to all the speakers, today's speakers as well as the other speakers. We had many international speakers also here. So that was, I think they have taken their time and given their knowledge to us. So that is very wonderful. So my sincere thanks to all.
And I request Dr. Somak Bhattacharya to say a few words as he is the last speaker of the day.
I don't know what I should speak, but I will let me be very brief. So first of all, thank you, Dr. Yadav, for providing me this opportunity, and this is one of my it is my privilege to speak in front of all the dignitaries. And as I have mentioned at the starting of today's workshop, for my presentation of today's workshop, that you have organized it quite well. I am getting regular updates. In fact, I have joined for few sessions that to listen to some of the speakers. And as I have mentioned already, I am the 11th batsman, right out of the 11 speakers. So I should not say much about it, but yes, it was very well done and very well organized. And yeah, congratulations to you for organizing it so well.
Now I invite our chief guest of the day, Professor S. Raghavan, to say a few words as he has attended all the sessions.
Valuable participants, Dr. M.M. Sharma, Chair, IEEE APS Chapter. We have been together in 2-3 IAWs.
Right.
Dr. J.K. Degal, Principal, Ajmer. In fact, Dr. Sharma made GWEC Principal Ajmer popular by the way in which he conducted IAW. Then Dr. Vijay Janiani, HOD ECG, I know him personally. We had a good interaction in NIT Trichy. Dr. Rohit Baker, Chair, IEEE Rajasthan. And finally, the birthday baby, Dr. Somak Bhattacharya. This international seminar was really an international one. Many people simply say international, and other than India, people don't participate. Whereas here, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Dr. Amit Kumar Singh to Dr. Saha, Korea, Italy, IIT Indore, IIT Dhanbad, DTU Delhi, almost every representative from different parts participated. And the session was too good. Certain things which you cannot get in the book. We have been hearing a lot of metamaterial lectures, but today what Dr. Singha told was entirely different. Likewise, heard about the antenna measurements, but in this seminar only I have heard at least metamaterial antenna measurements that through Rode and Schwartz. Likewise, another proud thing is, as our Prime Minister used to say about Swapnil Gaul, he was a founder, the only one and the only Indian software that is coming popular. So these are the few points I want to tell. Now, when I see the chat box, almost 3/4 of the participants have praised Sanjay Yadav. In fact, he was my junior in IIT Delhi CAR. Every participant have got a lot of laurels about Dr. Sanjay. Not only this seminar, a principal of Women's College told, and HOD ECE MNIT also told about the way in which Dr. Yadav, of course, anchoring was from Dr. Sharma, and it was, and all the participants have praised the way in which it was conducted. So I just want a small permission from Dr. Sharma and other IEEU, because last time when Dr. Pandey of LRDE came to NIT, he coined my scholar. In fact, I call him Junior Bozi as a man of Ephesus. So I wish all the participants and HOD, ECE, MNIT, principal of Ajmer College and other IEEE office bearers, why not we coin? It's not only this seminar, some time before also, he conducted another 5. Now I will tell you one entirely good thing about Yadav, which every participant will say, agree with me. I will tell what it is. And why can't we call or coin Dr. Yadav, Sanjay Yadav as the man of antenna webinar antenna man of India? I would like to get one small approval from Dr. Sharma and HOD ECE, and participants will agree with me. I would like to say yes or no from Professor Sharma.
Yes,
Okay, I
please
will
go
tell
ahead.
some more points why I am telling this. First of all, Dr. Yadav has not troubled, he never troubles the participants with attendance. The second one, he never conducts test also. So all these will make every participant to concentrate more on the content of the lectures. And I have got one small request to the young principal of that women's college. See, I heard that set up, maybe the initiative of Dr. Sharma, the antenna measurement lab in the women's college. I wish that
Yes,
should be
we have set up, sir.
that should be augmented, and
Yes, sir.
slowly we have got all big people. So you should make it a center of excellence. I saw some of the participants, whether we can do the measurements there. If measurements also can be done, there will be more papers will come from India. So that way, that is the small request from me to the principal through Dr. Sharma, who can make it possible. You should make it a center of excellence. Then only there will be meaning in having 2-3 webinars, long webinars conducted by Dr. Yadav. So with this, I would like to close it. Before that, I would like to get a small comment from stalwart Dr. M.M. Sharma about my
Regarding
comment about your person, Dr. Sanjay Yadav.
Dr. Sanjeev Yadav.
Yes.
Am I right? Dr. Sanjeev Yadav. You are talking about the Dr. Sanjeev Yadav.
Why
He
can't we
conducted-
coin him as the man of webinars, antenna
Yeah.
webinars?
He's a, just let me tell you, Sanjeev Yadav is a young fellow. He did the BTech, MTech, and PhD, MTech, and the PhD under my supervision. And he has published many papers in the SCI journals also and in the IEEE transactions also. We had discussion that we should conduct. We had earlier the webinar under the IEEE APS banner, 1 or 2 webinars, individual webinars. Then we thought that why not we must have a FDP where we can connect all the speakers throughout across the globe, and we can have around 12 to 13 speakers. And you know that when you are conducting the webinar, you have to be present from morning to the evening. Say morning session starts at 10 o'clock, so you need to be there around 9:30 or 10, and then ends around 12. Then again 2 o'clock again it starts. Again it ends at 4. So almost 10 to 4 you have to be there. So it's throughout the day, 5 days you are busy. And all the problems you need to resolve it. You have to invite the participants. You have to manage the things. You have to manage the show. And this Dr. Sanjeev Yadav has really done wonderfully. I really congratulate him. And to the principal also, Principal Dr. J.K. Dingwal, who has facilitated all the things, internet and other things. And he has developed a workshop also. Although it was initiated by me when I was. But yes, Dr. J.K. Dingwal is taking ahead. He has set up some like anechoic chamber and other things. Him that he will go ahead and he will provide the facilities to the antenna community researchers, maybe on the charter basis, but the facility to be provided, that is more important. And Professor Raghavan, we need your guidance because you are, yes, well, what should I say? Well, I cannot just to say about you is that like to say talking about the sun, you shines like yourself. You have done such a wonderful work in the microstrip antennas, all the planar antennas and non-planar antennas. So we require your guidance also.
Small thing I want to add. About 3 months before, Prime Minister gave 5 lakhs prize to my student, Dr. Krishnagant, on FSS. And what he did in Pune was, IAW was conducted in Defense Institute, Pune. That time, Dr. M.M. Sharma gave a unique talk. He gave a talk on FSS. So in front of me, Krishnagant ran behind Dr. Sharma and told and requested him many help regarding the fabrication of FSS. Then only I came to know Dr. Sharma is good in FSS also. So Krishnagant did not ask me where to go for fabrication. He went to ask, asked Sharma only to know where he did that fabrication on FSS. Then I think at that time he was in charge of Chandigarh Institute. Principal, only one post he has not got is the VC post. Maybe he will follow Dr. YP Yadav and get the VC post also soon. So I wish Dr. Sharma recognizes Dr. Yadav as the man of the webinars. Maybe 1 or 2 participants also will tell us the feedback. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your good word.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I will propose a vote of thanks on behalf of IEEE APS Chapter Jaipur, IEEE Rajasthan Subsection, MNIT Jaipur, and Government Women Engineering College Ajmer. I welcome you all the participants in the valedictory session of this 5-day long event, which come to an end. And I will tell you about how this workshop started. The idea of this workshop came in the last lecture series we organized. There were 1,100 participants. So to limit the registration of that, we put the nominal registration fees, that is 100 rupees for IEEE members. From there, we just participants were asking about the metamaterials. So we organized in the metamaterials. In this event, we have 11 speakers from academia and industry across the globe who are the eminent there in their fields. We have a great audience from UG students to researchers and from faculty members to administrators, from institutes as well as industries. One thing I will tell you that Professor Raghavan was one of the who attended all the sessions, as well as apart from Professor Raghavan, Professor Shiv Gaunkar, who was the director of IIT Delhi. He was also one of the participants of the workshop. He also attended all the sessions in this workshop. Initially, we started our registration with 200 registration, as we thought to use only the Google Meet platform. But in the first 24 hours of releasing the voucher, we got 180 registrations. So we discussed about that. So we closed the registrations at 200 only. Then we discussed for other platform. Then we requested IEEE for WebEx. initially they denied the WebEx for 5 days. Then again we requested, then they gave the WebEx to organize these. They gave the different two WebEx for different sessions. Again we requested, they gave two separate WebEx for us. Then I would like to thank all the speakers who gave their valuable time to make this event successful. I also thank our team members of our department, Mr. Ankur Pokhra, who is also just the host of the event, Mr. Sandeep Mandya, who is also there present here, Mr. Dr. Rituraj Rathore, and Mr. Balram sir, who worked regularly for 1 month to make this event successful. I also thank our principal sir, Dr. J.K. Digwal, and my colleagues for supporting in this event. As I am busy here since morning 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. The work has been suffered, but my other colleagues has done the work on behalf of me. I also thank Professor Vijay Jainani sir, who is also the HOD of EC MNIT, as well as he was the past chair of IEEE Rajasthan subsection. And I thank Professor Rohit Bhakar, who is the IEEE Rajasthan subsection chairman, for providing his guidance. I thank Professor M.M. Sharma sir for providing his guidance time to time. I thank Dr. Somawa Mukherjee, who is the vice chair of IEEE Rajasthan subsection and joint secretary of APS chapter. I also thank to Mr. Mahesh Kala for sponsoring as a JV Micronics. At last, I thank who directly or indirectly associated with workshop and make this event successful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
for
Sanjeev.
making this
Thank you, Dr.
event
Sanjeev.
successful.
Dr. Raghavan.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, sir.
And I also thank Professor Raghavan to accept our invitation with a very short span of time.
One small thing I want to add. This is a news that Professor Savagankar attended all the session. So he's attending the 5-day seminar is really a proud affair for Dr. Sharma and Dr. Shanti Yadav. It's a great thing.
Yeah, so
Because
he initially messaged me to ask me what are the timings of your webinar. Then I messaged him. Then after 5 minutes, he registered it. And continuously, he is attending all the sessions.
so that's a great news to the participants and also the organizers. It's a great thing.
This effort goes to all Dr. Sanjeev Yadav.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Sanjeev. Dr. Sanjeev.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, professors.
Thank you. So thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.